Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with a look at the Stoner MS5. This here is the 5-inch version of a knife that I've taken a look at in the past on my channel, being the MS6. So the MS6 was the very first model in the MS lineup, actually in the Stoner lineup altogether. Stoner CNC doing some amazing work. Now, they are instrumental in the industry in a number of different ways, launching their own knife brand here with the MS6. But today, well, the smaller brother, the MS5, maybe you like that 5-inch belt knife. Maybe you're looking for something that's going to be that general utility blade while you're around the camp. Well, I can tell you already that this MS6 can absolutely do it. Now, I was recently on a gorgeous backpacking trip with my family, with my son, a couple of friends, just getting deep into the mountains and bringing a knife like the MS5. Absolutely awesome for those general tasks. Now, I can tell you for sure this was capable of doing all the work that I needed it to do. Granted, it was limited, but everything that I did with it, it did do very well. Now, I'm going to caveat this entire video by saying when it comes to backpacking, hiking, camping for me, I do tend to be more in the 6-inch blade size class for the types of things that I do. I am definitely into hammock camping, so I need to clear some space, and having maybe a slightly longer blade would work to my advantage, but where I was using the MS5 strategically and specifically to test it, to see if it could perform, to see if it could do all of the tasks, no problem clearing out my shelter space. That worked very well. Very good for cutting cordage. I had to actually make some tie outs and tie down my tarp. So I was able to use this very effectively for that particular purpose. And then beyond everything else, food prep, general cooking and eating tasks, having a knife in the 5-inch blade size class definitely works out extremely well, and I really did enjoy this MS5 while I was out on the trails. And so as we get into the details of the MS5, the first thing, AEBL stainless steel, very nicely done from Stoner, fully machined, gorgeous fit and finish. Everything about this knife, very well done. And the other thing that is just so awesome, I mean, USA made. So getting a fully manufactured USA knife, awesome. I love that. And I feel as though these days we really do need to pay attention to that and, you know, support home. If you're watching this and from the United States, you should be thinking about buying USA made whenever possible. And so Stoner definitely coming to the table now with a couple of great designs. Now, in terms of the general construction, again, AEBL. However, the thickness here, this is a 3/16 stock thickness. Keep in mind the fact that this is specifically not squared off on top of the spine for a reason. In fact, it's chamfered, it's softened, all the touch points, nice and comfortable. Wherever you put your thumb on top of the spine, there is a ramp, and that ramp having some real nice jimping. And as you take a look at how it's done, again, everything chamfered and softened over. So it's going to be able to grip real nice on your thumb with that ramp, but at the same time, that's not going to beat you up. And that's actually very important, especially for me where I was deep in the mountains. And the last thing I need is my tools to introduce damage to my hands. So Stoner doing a real nice job with that. In terms of the heat treat, 61 to 62 HRC, and this has also undergone a cryogenic treatment. So we're going to see a real durable and tough blade, should have excellent retention, and the fact that this is fairly high on the Rockwell scale should mean that we get good performance on that edge, but it should still be reasonably serviceable. Now, as I touch this, still very sharp. Granted, I did just a little bit of limbing. I did some food prep. Again, nothing that should damage the edge. No problem. Still razor sharp right from the factory. But if I did have to touch this up, I think I'd be able to do it pretty easily the way I like to do it, with a leather strop and a fine ceramic rod. The leather strop will get this back to pretty much a straightened out and honed edge, and then I use the fine ceramic rod to literally introduce micro serrations just to give it a little bit more of a toothy edge. You can see this has a nice generous fuller with the unique pattern now. Stoner has introduced kind of the little milled and machined holes in the fuller. That is the case here on the MS5. That was also the case with the MS6. And I can tell you both of these knives very well balanced. When you pick them up, they feel nimble in the hand. That's because everything is just real nicely balanced, doing a nice job with getting everything balanced right at that fulcrum point, so you can see where this is balancing right there real easy. That's right on that indexing choil, which is going to leave this knife very neutral in the hand. The ability to roll it around quickly, do those tasks, wield it around. The fact that it is neutrally balanced definitely does play well for that purpose. Now, as you take a look at the handle, you can see that the actual tang is a little bit proud, but that again is intentional. Everything chamfered, rounded over, mated up with the scales beautifully, and these G10 scales are gorgeous. Keep in mind the fact that you can get a number of different colors, and on top of that, different patterns. Now, these are kind of more of the standard pattern scales, but you can also get the tack grip scales. Now, these happen to be for the MS6. I don't have the tack grip scales for the MS5. However, you can see just excellent pattern. That is a machine pattern, a lot of grip on there. So if you want just a little bit more kind of touch points or grip on that, you can go with the tack grip scales. And also keep in mind the fact that you can either get the tumbled stainless finish, or there's also the Cerakote finish. Cerakote's kind of nice if you want to deepen up the blade. Maybe you want it for more of that tactical purpose. The Cerakote will definitely cut down on the shine. But for me personally, I do like the stainless finish. I use my knives all the time for cooking, and this is going to be the easiest for general cleanup. And then also just the quality of the steel. That way I'm not getting any coatings rubbing off and eventually in my food. So overall, definitely a real nice blade shape, capable of doing a ton of good work. But when it comes down to the specifications, running through this real quick. The overall length, 9.75 inches from the tip all the way to the pommel end, which here you can see does have that hidden lanyard hole, which is pretty cool the way that's done. I like that. You can see as the light shines through, there's your lanyard hole all protected inside those scales. And then for the blade, right at 5 inches for the overall blade length, 0.187 or 3/16 of an inch on that stock thickness, again being the AEBL 61-62 HRC. Already mentioned the fuller and all the chamfered edges and that thumb ramp. Again, just a beautiful design. And also keep in mind the fact, literally exactly the same to the MS6, which obviously the blade length size does differ. The other thing I will point out is the handles are not exactly the same. So you do need to be a little bit careful where if you wanted to get the MS6 with some alternate grips, those will not fit on the MS5. You will have to buy grips specifically and purposely for each one of these knives. Now I can tell you that both of the handles fitting almost equally well. As you take a look at how the 5 indexes, getting the choil, that indexing choil right in that fulcrum point, and I have a large size hand, indexing just about perfect. Bit of a palm swell here that just nestles nicely in with my ring finger and middle finger. That feels really, really good. Now, if you take a look at the 6, also very similar, but you can see clearly it buys me a little more space, just a little more freedom there to stretch out that hand, open it up just a bit. Now, both feel equally good. Sometimes I like to feel like I have a little more grip. However, I do have to say, I kind of like the compact nature of the handle on the 5. It just fills out my hands really well, fits about perfect. The geometry and how everything lines up with my thumb right onto that ramp, just feels really good, and I love, love, love the way this fits in my hand. So the handle, very nice. Now with that, again, I've already mentioned that you can get a couple of different types of grips, different colors. The next thing to talk about is the sheath and the carry capability. Now, the sheaths are amazing on these Stoner knives. Absolutely beautiful. I'm not sure where I got the backer. I'm almost positive this did not come with this particular backer. I know that I did get the backer with the 6, and it's kind of similar where you end up with that, snap, Velcro enclosure, simple offset in terms of the dangle ride to give you all the space that you need. I was able to get a very similar setup. I think this came from Work Tough Gear, and because the sheaths are standard spacing for the most part, this happened to align literally perfectly. 3/4 inch spacing on each of the eyelets, nice open cut slots for lashing points, and then you end up with additional retention here on this little knob, which I did need because, well, I mean, this fits and feels great, but the last thing I want to do is have a problem with my knife while I'm out in the mountains, and I was constantly taking this, tightening that down, getting the additional retention from tightening down right through this guard area and making sure that the knife had the additional retention. I would be real busy to yank this knife out of there. It barely will budge. So that does a very nice job and is a real effective manner to giving you additional retention inside the sheath. So I would say 2 forms of retention. That's definitely working very well here on the MS5. A few last details worth noting. So as you take a look at the MS5, you'll notice on the handle I have black hardware, yet on the MS6 it was stainless. Well, Stoner does provide both sets of hardware. So not only are you getting the black hardware, you also get the Allen keys that you need, hex keys that you need, and stainless hardware, which is cool. So you can change up how this looks. That's fantastic. And you're now getting the slotted pouch, which again, very nice. Great presentation, dual purpose. You can build this out certainly into a kit of a number of different ways. This ends up with beautiful lashing points, nice long straps, the ability to mount this a number of different ways on different packs, add different gear. You end up with nice large Velcro field, some shock keepers. Really, I would call this just a good quality multi-purpose pack that you could use for a number of different things, not just the knife. And if you look at how big the knife is compared to this, you would certainly have tons and tons of room. So all in all, Stoner doing a beautiful job. This MS5, gorgeous. The MS6, gorgeous. The sheath work, really second to none. It's about as nice of a Kydex as you could possibly get, and especially for factory offering, just beautiful. So Stoner first coming out with the MS6, now the MS5, a couple of gorgeous blades. Thank you to the people at Stoner who did provide this for review. So look in the description box below. Find yourself a Stoner knife. I can tell you they are doing a wonderful job. Great fit and finish, excellent quality. I like the design. I think this is a quality, utility-driven design that just fits multi-role purpose. You could see yourself using it in the outdoors. You could see tactically kind of inspired situations. But all in all, no matter what you do, you can't go wrong with the 6 or the 5. So again, thank you to the people at Stoner. And for the rest of you, if you like this content, do me a favor, take a look at my Outer Limitless family of channels. You're here today on Outer Limitless Blades, all the sharp and pointy things. Outer Limitless, my hiking, camping, backpacking channel. Outer Limitless 2, which is the tactical and firearm side of things. And Outer Limitless lights, headlamps, EDC lights, indoor, outdoor lighting, you name it. That's the Outer Limitless family of channels. So all right, guys, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.